Okay, we are live. Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are back for another trading stream. I put it live. I've been late. You know, it was supposed to be 9 o'clock. It's 9:04. Every app I have installed on my computer, all decided to update at the same time, including my streaming software. So it just took forever, but finally live. No one's been notified. No one's even here really right now. I'm probably talking to myself, but for anyone who is even here, hopefully you've had a good evening so far, or a good morning. Obviously time zones and whatnot, maybe you've just woken up, had a nice sleep or whatnot, but anyways, thank you for joining the stream. In the beginning, we have quite a bit to cover, so obviously I'm going to start at the timer, but before anything else, okay, to make sure I try to stick to an hour. I always ignore it. I always go over about 20 minutes. I'm an absolute amateur when it comes to that, because I'm horrible at timekeeping, but I'll try to keep it to an hour today. We have the liquidation data up. I normally have CoinMarketCap, but I wanted to quickly show this before we went to CoinMarketCap to see some percentages, because I wanted to show the 24-hour liquidation data, because obviously last time I looked at it technically was pretty much 24 hours ago on the dot. So clearly this is going to be new data, or new oh no, actually no, not 24 hours ago. It was Monday, wasn't it? I was thinking of the fact that we streamed yesterday. So clearly, obviously this is new data. Obviously we have dumped again, as we've continued to dump again. We've kind of really talked about this last stream, saying, you know, we've had a massive move downwards. There's going to be so much keeping us down right now with from us dumping from obviously Monday. That even if we go up a tiny bit to recover or see some lower highs, we're going to dump again, and obviously we've done that. Obviously that's people getting too excited, or whatever it's going to be, the reason, but clearly obviously we've gone down again. Another $1 billion liquidated in longs. Obviously people are getting way too excited. You know, guys, you need to calm down here. All right, we're going to keep on going down until everyone, you know, people think they've caught the bottom, and they haven't. Okay, people are going to continue to long these so on bottoms and keep on getting liquidated. If there's so much juiciness below lows, we're going to continue to follow them until it stops. You know, I feel like, you know, the market perpetually follows what people don't think is going to happen. You know, all the way at the highs, everyone's like, guys, we're going to come down. We're going to see us come down again. You know, people are obviously, and this is the thing, I think there's two sides to the same argument here. People obviously, you know, we come to 125k and they're like, okay guys, here we go, 180k. But my personal opinion would be, as soon as we come up towards the 125k, I'm immediately looking for us coming back down quite heavily, and you just don't do it. And then when you start to think, maybe we don't go down, maybe we actually do go up, we start to come down. It's always the same thing. Always the same thing. Obviously, in my mind anyway, obviously you can have different opinions, but that's how I see it. Anyway, $1.04 billion of longs liquidated in the last 24 hours. Obviously, a big proportion of this makes up, look at 24 hour quickly, is Ethereum. Obviously, 433 in Ethereum. Again, with that, we've hit lower and lower and lower. Obviously, we did have resistance. I will get into it, or as to why I think Ethereum didn't go up as high as a Bitcoin. Obviously, we can see by just by liquidation alone, we can clearly see 433 to comparative with Bitcoin 275. Clearly, we've obviously hit more liquidations than Bitcoin, clearly, and pretty much the whole market. But obviously, well, not the whole market. It adds up to 1 billion, so clearly it's not the whole market. But you know what I mean. Also, I'm on Square. I just remembered I have it actually open today. I can actually read the chat. I didn't know anyone was there last stream, because normally no one really joins. So for people who are in Square, do say hello. I am also reading the chat. I will also say hello to everyone, because obviously I know I started the stream horribly. It was awful. Everything was updating at the same time. Like I said in the intro, all my streaming software, my camera software, everything updated at the exact same time, and it took forever, and I couldn't notify anybody. I couldn't send the link to Telegram in time, but obviously you guys are still joining. So obviously Danny's here, Kishan, Mags, KB, thank you all for joining. Evening to you all as well. Mike has sent a tweet. I want to see what his tweet is. I'm intrigued. Okay, what is this? Okay, yes, this was actually a good tweet. I actually did want to bring this up. Obviously, we wanted to. Mike's actually put his tweet out. I am going to reply I want to obviously mention with Tito and whatnot, obviously talking to him in the DMs about what resources to look at for trading and whatnot. But obviously I did want to reiterate the same point on the stream today, to shout out everybody who are consistent to the streams, whether they're consistent as of late or have been, or are in the OG group, or are in Telegram and are part of the community. Because obviously there's a lot of people in Telegram, there's a lot of people who talk and are sometimes slightly part of the community, but there's always going to be people, no matter how much they're involved, who can still become people who we recognize in the community. So obviously shout out to you all. Obviously if you guys here, most of you here are probably going to be regulars, especially in YouTube. Obviously I recognize all of you guys here, so thank you guys for being very special members of the community and being part of this very consistently. So I do thank you guys very much. Again, if you add up the time, it's probably a lot of time of your guys' life spent being a part of these streams and obviously being a part of the Telegram and whatnot. But obviously thank you, all of you. There was another tweet he put out, obviously talking about CRO coming down. I feel like I kind of caught a lucky ball there with me being so negative. It wasn't a naive thing, but I was very negative on CRO. All the way we were at 34, 30 cent. I was like, guys, this isn't it. This isn't it, guys. We're not going back up to 50 cent. We're not doing this for CRO. We're going to come down to 22 cents. And my first target anyway being 22 cents. I don't have the tweet. I've just closed the Twitter. But whatever, it was a funny tweet. Doesn't matter. Let's get into that. I've spent 5 minutes not doing, or even 6 minutes now actually, pretty much not doing the stream. So let's actually move on to CoinMarketCap. Look at some percentages. As we can probably expect, everything will majoritively be negative. Is anyone winning? Some people are winning, obviously, but you can clearly see within the top 10 there are stable coins. So, obviously not a great scenario for anybody right now. So I don't care about, there we go. So Bitcoin 109,785, 0.75% of 1 hour, doesn't really matter. But 3.5% down 24 hours, 6.8 down 7 day, again, pretty much tumbling down. Ethereum nearly 15% down on the 7 day, 5.79% down 24 hour. As I could probably expect, Ethereum being one of the bigger percentages downwards within 24 hours. And anyway, obviously the liquidations have been pretty high for Ethereum. Solana 19926. We hit the support, or we hit the buy area. Obviously this was before the highest liquidation events of however long it's been have occurred. We did find support, but obviously I will get into the resistance we formed on the way downwards and where we bounced off of for Solana and continue to fall downwards. We've got Sui, $3.16. I'm very sad about Sui. I'm very sad. Of the two coins I was positive about in the top coins I consistently cover, and not side bits, it's been Ethereum, it's been Sui. So technically, based on a percentage, I've been majoritively right, more right than I'm wrong, but I'm very sad to see Sui. Sui was in such a beautiful position in the market. It was absolutely ripping, and obviously now everything is tumbling downwards. And this is the thing, I think the causation of this, it's not, because obviously people say, oh, why is this happening? Why is this happening? It's not like there's been a massive, like, oh yeah, someone's blown up a house of some politician somewhere and caused a new war. It's just happened, and it's like, this isn't crazy. It's like this. Obviously, sometimes something happens in the news. We wick up 20% in random coin, and then we dump right back down. But that's normally what you would expect to happen relatively when something like that happens, unless it's a long, it's something which is like has longevity to it, like a war, for example. Or like, oh yeah, CRO gets listed on Truth with diamonds, it pumped and it dumped again. Fine, that makes sense. But then when you have this sort of scenario where nothing's happening yet we're liquidating, it feels like such a big catalyst for something bigger. Wink, wink. Obviously, we've been talking about it for a long time. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything before I get into the charts, but I have maybe, obviously, if you've slightly been listening to when I've been talking about Bitcoin, especially on the weekly, we've been wanting this. But obviously, it feels like it could be a bit more of a fundamental catalyst which causes something big to happen in the market. Because again, this is natural price action. This isn't some artificial volume getting put into everything in the market, by the way, not just one coin, everything in the market. This isn't just artificial volume. This is this is causation. People are getting liquidated here. This is constant liquidation over the past, within this week basically, and it's not like it's hollow candles. These actually have weight to them. This has resistance. We are moving down rapidly. This is high resistance, or high volume movements. This isn't just some willy-nilly stuff. Low volume, low volume moves which have these massive candles. This has weight to it. So again, that is it. It may be a big comment on something going on in the market, quote unquote. Anyway, syrup. Let's see. I think we did it. 38. 57. Are we back? Okay, we got past 37.4. We hit the midpoint of the support point. Again, I'm not saying we're going to hold it. Like we're going to, not whatever. But we finally got past the low I've been waiting for so long. Long trade signal. When was that? 2 days ago. Ooh, yikes! Yeah, I mean, I'm no different for saying someone's going to go up and it go down. Mainly being Ethereum and Sui, but doesn't like as much of a long setup anymore. Anyway. So we hit finally past our low. Very, very beautiful. CRO, we are ripping down. Obviously, we talked about the order block we had at 17.5. We have the final gap. If we don't actually respond off this and we come down, it's not looking great for CRO. And a lot of people, I see a lot of negativity, and this is a good sign, potentially a good sign. Again, you see things where it's like, oh yeah, it's over, guys, we're going down, and then the market goes up. Or, oh yeah, we're at all-time high, guys. Here we come, 140k Bitcoin. We've just got past the high for a second time. Here we come, and now we're at 109.6, where we're at. So, a lot of people are very unhappy about CRO on Twitter. So this could be a great thing. We could be nearing a slight bottom. But considering what we have across the market, considering how long-term I think this move, I'm not saying this happens over a few months and we're coming down to 60k for Bitcoin, but in terms of how big of a move I think this could be leading into, in theory, obviously we'll talk about it, it might not be a scenario where we bounce anytime soon for CRO if we are continuing down like we are right now in the market. And if we continue the process we're doing, everything's going to hurt quite heavily. Because again, it's like we had this conversation. We had this conversation before September the 17th. I think it was that was the date when we were talking about, oh yeah, well, the data points we're going to have on Wednesday. This is it, guys. You better pack your bags before September the 17th, otherwise we're pumping. And then what happened? The data came out, we went up a bit, and we went right back down. We didn't do anything. And I was saying, even before the data came out, I was like, okay, I think we're going to want this move down. And I can concede on the fact that there's going to be a certain point in time where if we don't do this move, we're not going to do it, and we're going to go up. And I get that. That's fine. There's cycles to this. There's movement. But obviously, there's certain parts of the market which haven't been... we haven't had certain parts of the market, certain situations, certain institutional involvement, if you will. We've never really seen this before, to the extent we have it anyway. So I do think there is going to be a certain difference in what we have now versus what we've had previously. However, I can agree on the fact that there will be certain time frames where price will eventually exhaust itself and start to move in the opposite direction of downwards, aka obviously upwards. However, I've obviously been saying it's like, I didn't agree with the fear-mongering we had when it was coming up to September 17th. And people saying, oh, yeah, well, we're going to go up. We're really going to pump when September 17th hits. You better watch out. You might be saying we're going down, but we're going to be going upwards. And then we didn't. We really didn't. And we're starting to come down, and there's not and people were saying, oh yeah, well, we need something to happen to cause us to start to go down, and there's been statements of like, oh yeah, I can't see what's going to happen in the next month, let's say it is. I don't know what the exact time frame is. Oh, I don't see what's going to happen in the next month, which is going to cause us to go down. Well, it's been nothing really. We've just started to get liquidated. Obviously, Asia opened on Monday and wanted the world to end. Obviously, it was like 2 a.m. whatever it was. It opened on Monday. We dumped. We spent the entirety of London, New York, double time consolidating. We pumped once for Bitcoin, and then we've dumped again. You know what? Before I continue, let me actually go to the chart. Because we are 46 minutes for the stream, and I need to start actually looking at the charts. So I have the weekly up here just to show it again. I have I have everything hidden because it's very, very messy. But I mean, we've been talking about the idea that we've obviously talked about the idea of what's the word for it? Like kind of averaging out the entirety of a move within a day. Obviously, in this case, a week, and evening out and simplifying the entire move we've had over the last, couple days and whatnot into just simply the high, the low, the open, and the close, which is simply just a weekly candle. Again, this isn't rocket science. And the idea of continuing a move versus not continuing a move, and because there's a common thing. Taking a high or taking a low, or wicking past the high and the low and then reversing and then pumping or whatever. That idea. And you might look at the 4 hour and see so many candles which build up to this, but you can still look at the same concept, but on a candle by candle basis. And because again, prices, it's fractal, but I wanted to say it in a bit more fancy way, or not fancy, but my own way, where the makeup of a weekly candle is the data points throughout so many 4 hour candles, but it's still the same thing. Price is still, price isn't moving any different on the weekly as it is to the 4 hour. Obviously, price can look different. Obviously, we can be bullish on one time frame, be bearish on another, which obviously plays an effect. But price isn't any different on any time frame. It's all the same price action. It's just a different way of representing it. And to an effect, a singular candle is affected by the lower time frames, or what's going on lower time frames, if you will. I mean, even though you say, it's going on lower time frames, it's going on every time frame. You just can't see it on the weekly because it's one candle. So again, talking about the idea of, and this is why I had this, and I think I actually had this drawn out on a different exchange. I don't know which one it was. Oh no, I have everything hidden, don't I? I'm stupid. No, that's not it. This is me. Ignore this. This is just my thing. There it is. In terms of the idea of these 3 candles and coming past the low, and I had this drawn out. Again, I wasn't really talking about it on the stream. I didn't really want to talk about it on the stream. It's just kind of something I wanted to test out, talking about a move based on candles, or based on higher time frame candles instead of a 4 hour basis. But anyway, so it's realistically just that, in the idea of we have these let me go back to there. We have these candles, and you can see it in this process. For example, we have this candle. Obviously we didn't print past this high. Obviously in this case we were at all-time highs. It's obviously clearly we're not going to go any higher, but especially in these 3 candles you can clearly see it where you have the open, the high, and the low close. But what is really important is printing past these lows consecutively, and in these up moves and down moves, especially when you're having a strong move and you know where you're going, each and every candle is majoritively going to be printing past these highs, or you're going to see stuff within the candles and know, okay, cool, we're probably going to print or we're not going to print, especially when you have an oppositely printing candle. You've come past this low by a tiny bit and you have this opposite printing candle. This might be a sign of, okay, just based on 2 candles alone, you can kind of maybe tell an idea based on the next candle where, okay, well, we've had a down close, we've not printed past this one, and we've had a green candle. It's not like we've printed negative and we've failed to print. Like, for example, there's examples somewhere like this one, for example. We didn't print past 95.7, we still printed green, and we continue to go upwards. So there will be certain things within the lower time frames which might cause price to do a certain thing where it won't print properly on the weekly, or it won't print, as you would expect, but it would still follow a process. But obviously in this case, it's like, okay, we had down close, we got past that low by a tiny bit, and then we went upwards. Obviously low, so this would have been the open, we would have probably gone down. Obviously it can go up and down and then up again, I get that, but the general idea, obviously you would have gone past this low, you would have come upwards, you would have retraced, obviously, and had this green printing candle, and then we've continued this. And obviously this was where I was talking about the AMD, where it's kind of a it's really easily seen out by 3 candles here, where you have that big candle. Obviously we've come into an area of resistance here, or an area where you have a general idea of selling at. Obviously you can see we're printing at that midpoint pretty nicely. Obviously I was talking about this last stream and the stream before, in terms of filling the weekly gap here, and obviously you can see with this one we've printed negative, great. We've not really had a decisive print really. It's like, it's very in the air, and we've ripped past this high. So, and the idea is you want to wait for the 3rd candle to start to reverse, obviously from this down close, and then the target's going to be the previous candle's low. And this is what I was talking about last stream. I just wanted to reiterate it, or I think I was kind of talking about it last stream, not in the exact detail I'm saying right now, but in terms of the concept of just looking candle by candle and looking at where we're going. And yes, I will in a second talk about what we have here one last time before I move on to lower time frames. I'm like a stop record or a stuck record, or whatever because it's I say stopped record because that's just the way I remember it, but it's stuck record. I don't know why I remember it as the wrong way, whatever. But obviously we've been talking about what we have down here and this whole move we have where we're failing, we're going to come down, obviously talking about 107 being a target, obviously also talking about if I go back to actually where we are with our normal price action, obviously having this high to a low here, coming to this midpoint, obviously filling this area, doing a lower high, and then coming downwards. Again, we're barreling down. Again, this is a massive candle. Again, we're having a slight retracement. This is the weekly. We can continue to retrace. Obviously, we'll get to the low time frames in a second. But comparative to certain moves, again, we've had bigger candles in our past, but this is a very big, expansive move downwards we've had. And we're barely just retracing right here. Obviously, we do have this support point here, obviously coming from this gap we have where we print back upwards and print through the candle with this move. So obviously looking at this high here and this candle being a support point, obviously you can see we've already used it previously. We're kind of hovering here as well. But there's probably some lower time frame support which we have in here as well, I will say that. But you can see we're also wicking onto this support point. So we do have something of support, but the idea is we're going to continue to want to get into this area here. We'll get past this area at 107. So again, I've been talking about this. I'm not going to say it again because it's getting a bit boring now. So looking at our previous price action we've had, again, obviously Monday being the day of doom, obviously 2 a.m. I believe it was the open. Yeah, it was within basically the open of Asia and then just continued to happen. Going to the 1 hour actually, just to quickly see it, I wanted to talk about this move we've had here. We had a similar one with I think it was obviously talking about Ethereum's move. Obviously we had the lower high. This, and I was saying this as we were talking about it, obviously I was a bit blinded, but we had, you know what, no, you know what, actually I won't talk about Ethereum. We're on a Bitcoin. Let's not talk about Ethereum. Okay. So we can kind of see we didn't really move anywhere. We weren't in a direct fall. When we moved up strongly, we moved down strongly. When we moved up, we moved down, we moved up, and we're kind of in this phase here where we're not really moving. So clearly, it's not clean. It's not like a super. Oh yeah, the highs are exactly equal, the lows are exactly equal, but we're not in a strong trend. You can see we come past this high, we come past this low. We're trying to get past this low. We've just got past this high, but obviously you can see with these two lows. In terms of where the candles print anyway, we've had this phase of coming of having this whole move here where we've had and then an actual move upwards into a resistance area. Again, bearing in mind we're in a downtrend here, by the way. We have come from a massive liquidation point, or we are coming through liquidation points on the way downwards of longs anyway. So clearly our bias isn't really going to be, oh yeah, we're going to reverse here and then come up towards 115. But obviously you can see we've kind of done this. It's kind of a rough accumulation area. We've boosted upwards towards the resistance point, which we were talking about on Monday. We were saying I want us to retrace back up into this area. I remember circling these two candles. Obviously looking just at the retracement. Again, as soon as you're coming above that equilibrium point, you want to watch for that reversal. So obviously for the first example, as soon as you come up into this area, it's like, okay, we've come into this gap, are we going to dump? We'll be on this blue area again, remembering this is that breaker we had, so we're kind of seeing a bit of support on that bottom point, and then we've come up again, then we've stopped, and then we come up again, and then clearly it's like, okay, well, we're not really going to be doing having a great move here if we're just moving up and down constantly. And then we have a massive pump into the top end of this resistance. Again, the good area being this box here with this high, this line here and this line here. And obviously we come into that area, finally actually touch into it, at least at the starting point of it, and then actually we reversed here. Obviously, you probably go to 15-minute and try and look for a reversal here. We can see we have two equal highs here. We're obviously coming to a higher time frame point of resistance. We've wicked past it. We have a little bit of a dump. We have some highs here. We move past them in this move, and then we've started to come down. There's probably other areas here. If we have this move up, we move down, we start to expand a bit, maybe resistance. There's different areas in here, but you can kind of see the process, especially in this phase where we fail to print past these highs. We just wick past them, and clearly it's like we're not just magically going to reverse in some random area. We have reason to think we're going to reverse. We're in a point of resistance. That it makes the job of saying we're going to reverse a lot easier when you're in a 1 hour or could be a 4 hour gap. This makes sense. then obviously from here we kind of come up, come down, and then we've kind of got this period wick down, and obviously we can see we've come past these highs in this move, pumped downwards, printing past this. So obviously we can see we've got a bit of a resistance point here of a order block. So again, could be a good area to target. I mean, it was pretty choppy, I'm not gonna lie. There wasn't like a perfect gap, and then we just entered on it. There was this actually, to be fair, where we had this gap here, and we kind of came back up into it. But you know, that's not. There's different areas you could potentially focus on, but obviously looking at this pump to this dump past these highs, that's the easiest thing I would look at on the 15-minute, and then we can see we come back to that midpoint here, which is pretty nice, filling the rest of this gap, I suppose you could maybe also argue, and then we start to dump, but that doesn't matter. That's old news here. Okay, we can actually look at normal price action. So again, the target immediately when you look at coming from a immediate pump downwards, obviously I've expanded the low a bit closer to the last low before we came upwards into seeing the actual gap up here, and then we dumped here. Obviously we could still have it here, I suppose. I mean, if you wanted to, it wouldn't make sense, still in that blue area anyway, but I mean, I suppose you know, it would make more sense on the 4 hour to put it up to here, and then it would make more sense because obviously on the 4 hour we have the main gap here, but again, we're not focusing on shorting at points which are below the equilibrium. So looking at the 4 hour is a lot cleaner, to be fair. Now that I'm actually looking at it, we actually have it a bit cleaner, where or none of this is above that equilibrium point. We are just producing these highs here. Obviously we then come to fill more of the gap, I suppose. You know, obviously on the 1 hour it's split up into two gaps, where we fill the higher gap here, obviously taking these highs, and the most important part being we've come above that equilibrium point, and obviously we've come upwards and then come downwards to fill this individual gap. Again, this being the biggest gap, this also being that again, 2 a.m. was the start of Asia. It mainly started within Asia and it continued. So again, this is the main candle of like the midpoint of Asia. This is the biggest candle of the dump, so this was going to be that biggest resistance point, and then from there, once you've got that point, you're then wanting to come towards the low of the move, and then come upwards. So obviously we've obviously finally seen that low, and then we've continued down to some other points we have down here. So we have that weekly support here, which we were talking about, which you can see we didn't exactly print on. It was maybe like $100 off, which is fine on the print anyway. Again, as low as maybe $300. It wasn't exactly, you know, perfect science, but there's probably some areas back here we could probably focus on. We maybe have some lows we took. We have some of these wicks here as well. We also have these lows being taken in this move, with this move being this area here with this low, this down close candle, and then a massive pump. So this could be the candle to focus on, the last down close before the massive up close, which allows us to start to go back upwards again. So we can draw this out here and see it sits very tightly where that the weekly support point is as well. So again, we're anywhere in this area, 108.7, 108.9, 108.6 for the actual low. In this area is where that support point is. Regardless, we have that move. Going back to the 4 hour, I do want to see if we are going to look at the 4 hour move anyway, it will be this move, which just makes sense. We can also look at the 1 hour if we wanted to, but just looking at the 4 hour as a whole, what do we have? Well, we don't really have much in this way. We do have some highs maybe, which we could conceptually think of as an area to focus on. We have this candle up here as the main area, about 102.6 on the way down. But I think it's safe to say we are definitely trying to come on the way downwards, especially coming from the idea that we've had this weekly move here. And this has kind of been my main compass, which has brought me into this price action ever since we printed past 111.9 on this weekly candle. This is the idea of, okay, well, we came down, filled this gap, failed to print past this high, wick past it, dumped, obviously sweeping this high, if you will, if that's the best way of saying it. Dumped, obviously coming down towards a support point, seeing a clear as day fail to, obviously a gap here which we filled, a clear as day reversal point on the weekly here, and then start to come downwards. So the idea is, even though there's support here, there's countless times in history, and I will show it probably on Ethereum as well, where we are going to reverse this point. Again, we're not really going to want to hold this area of support, or we have used it as support previously, again, in the idea that that obviously we have printed past this low, but in terms of major prints, again, would be considered a major print. We have this move here where we've had this low into support point. Obviously from here, this is a bit of a different story now that we've had this. If we're looking at individual move, we have this move we've printed here and we've failed to get past this area. Now we're going to want to see us come a bit deeper into these areas and potentially reverse and continue downwards, especially seeing as though we're going to have quite a bit of resistance on the way down. Again, this is the thing, it's like, okay, we take the high, we have a reason to reverse, we start to reverse, we come down, and then we find our reason to stop coming down. We go up, we find our reason to stop going up, aka this weekly gap. We start to go down, and eventually we're going to find our reason to stop going down. So we could consider taking these lows as a good scenario. Maybe the midpoint of this area, if I quickly do this, being 103.5. About here, let's say. I'm just going to draw it out quickly. So this will be this line here. Let's just do that just as an example. So it might be a scenario where we've come past this low, fail to print it down, fail to get past anything, obviously fill this gap here, low or high. If we start to come down, we've taken equal lows, we probably find a wick or a print at this midpoint, and then we might start to reverse here, obviously depending on how we print through here. If we reverse this, it's going to be like a breaker block, probably find resistance somewhere in that midpoint, and then continue to take this low and see difficulty here. Obviously, the time frame of this obviously is quite important. I don't think this is going to be a thing which happens over the next 30 weeks, but it is going to be a process which can happen in a good deal of time. It won't be an instant thing which will happen. Obviously, in 2 candles, we're going to print right down towards 86k and come right back up to 100, 125. But this can happen over a quick period of time. This can happen very quickly. Again, in certain pumps anyway, we've had 20% move. How much actually from here? I want to see the gauge, at least at the top. I mean, even way to the bottom, it's 20%. You know what I mean? Like if we obviously, I want to be lenient. I want to watch it as it goes. But I want to look at least at the top of it, just in case. Again, as soon as we come past that equilibrium point, that is when you want to watch. I want to be watching this area. Again, if we look at this, we have the low, the high, and then here, obviously, we just use this gap, we pump. Again, this is the weekly here. It's not every time we're going to see it below that equilibrium, but the main aim is going to be, we want to see that equilibrium point. Obviously, in this case as well, we didn't print past this high. We're not in that phase of, we haven't done that new high yet. We've wicked past it. Obviously, we see that support. So technically, in this case, it's like, okay, we can see we have this wick here. We didn't print, so we haven't done that high yet. We've just, we failed to print. Thankfully, obviously, as we come down, as we fail to print, we've wicked past that high. Like I said, failed to print, came down, filled the gap, we found our support point, and then came upwards, and then we print. So this whole move is that expansion to print past these highs. Obviously, this now being the new high, technically, if we look at just this area, but as soon as we come past that major high, which had that dump for the low, and then have that move, this is going to be that major high, which we've printed past over here. As soon as we've done that, we've had this major swing, which we're going to want to see that move down for the low and then move upwards towards highs. And that's kind of the process. And this, obviously, is the process we've had for the entire time. And this was, and I've said this, and I know I'm going to move on to Ethereum, actually. I'm probably not going to look at the lower time frame much more for Bitcoin. I've already kind of looked at it. I'm 28 minutes left from the stream, and I'm still on Bitcoin. I mean, there's no surprise here, there really. But obviously, we can see, I want to really focus. Now, I know there might be, oh, well, something happened. Some news thing happened. Someone blew some plane up and now we're in a war and there's, like, Russia and something and then there's, like, gas and stuff. Yes, there's something in here. I don't care. Okay, I don't care. I'm just looking at the price section. I want to really focus on how similar. I don't care about how fast it took. I care about the similarity in the movement. I want to really focus on this move, and then this move, and then this move. This is. You might not. It might not look it. Okay, if I zoom out, this, you think, oh, how is this similar to this? I think personally, it's pretty identical. Let me explain. Okay, so we have the move upwards. Again, yeah, we have the move up, we have this move up, we have this move up, fine. This is where it is of importance. We have lows, we have highs. I don't care about the lows. I care really about, we have a gap here, which obviously you can see. We have the low here. We just about enter it. And I know it's being particular here. We just about enter it. We didn't quite, we didn't come all the way into the midpoint or whatever. We tickle into that top end of here, maybe by $200. We tickle into it, we come upwards. So remember this. Pump, all the way up, pump, whatever. Found a high, great. Come down, touched into this gap. Obviously, we took lows as well. That probably helps. I'm not gonna lie. That probably helps into finding our buy area. We have this massive just like area here. These two equal lows on the weekly, by the way. Wicking past, coming into this gap, and then coming back upwards and printing positive. Great. Okay. We come upwards. We have this move upwards. We wick past the weekly all-time high, which we produced in this phase, and then we dump. Especially this, remembering this as well, we fail to print. We have these two moves. We have these candles. We wick past this, obviously wicking past all-time high as well. And then we reversed. And the more important here is that the fact we start to reverse and come downwards. And then eventually we print past the low we produced in here, finding a low back down, nearing the bottom. Obviously, in this, I mean, it's not the exact bottom. Obviously, this is the whole move and whatnot. But we come down quite deeply. Again, obviously from the high to the low. In this case, about 30%, 32%, coming to fill the gap at the low end of here, producing a lower high. Obviously, by the way, we're in this uptrend the entire time, producing a lower high and then pumping. That's the process. That is categorically what happened in this move. I've just read it out. I'm not making something up. This is what happened. So let's use the same idea and look at what we have now. Obviously, it's staggered again. You know, in this case, you know, it was pretty much a straight line upwards. We did have this little period here, obviously taking the high, failing to print, but then we found support in here and then came upwards. But really focusing on this idea here, where obviously we had the gap here, we came upwards, we produced that high on the weekly, obviously in every time frame, but we produced that high at 123. We came down, obviously we took some lows, whatever. We had the same thing here with some lows. The lows isn't what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on this main gap. In this case, we did come quite deeper into nearing the midpoint of this gap. We came up one more time to take that high and wicking past it, failing to print, and then dumping. This one's been a lot faster though. We've immediately printed past that low we produced in this area here. Obviously this one was a lot faster than this one. This one took a lot longer of a period. And then we dump, and then we've retraced, and obviously we found resistance here. Obviously in this case, it was kind of just a straight line down. So in terms of the specifics of how this area moved, it's not the same. This one was literally just straight line downwards. This one's we print past the low, come down, found here, and now we're starting to dump again. But the same process of we have that fail. We have the high, we have the fail, we have a low, we print past the low, we've obviously come down to do a higher time frame low, we find a support point back here, and then we pump. And that was the process. So same thing here, again, obviously we have the high, we have the low, fail high, printing past the low. Obviously, in this case, we've actually retraced and found the gap here, and now we're starting to dump and starting to come downwards, and we're going to want to find our area of interest. Now, obviously, in this case, if we do from this low to this high, we want to focus on coming below that equilibrium point. Now, this order block is an equilibrium. We've used it, yes, absolutely. This is the weekly. We can use high time frame supports on different ranges in different areas, absolutely. But the main equilibrium is well below this point of this order block here. It's going to be sitting within this area of this obvious gap here at about 93.88. You know, there's people say 80k, people say 90k. Obviously, the top end of this being 90k, 93k. Obviously, this top end of this move downwards past this low to pump is 89k. So there's different areas, but the same process still stands, which we've seen on the weekly on the last time, where we have this massive move, reversal, move down, finding an area to do a lower high on the weekly, and then move upwards. Because if you really look at it, we've had so many previous times where we've had a massive move upwards, a completely obvious move down the weekly, and a move up, completely obvious move down the weekly, move up. We haven't really had that obvious move. If we come down and do this, obviously this is actually quite deep to be fair. Obviously, again, this is why I'm still sitting on the fence of, is it going to be 93k? Is it going to be 88? It could be as high as the low of this low at 98k. So again, there's something to argue here. But the idea that we have a massive move upwards, an obvious low, a massive move up, an obvious low, massive move up. What's the chance we are going to do an obvious low somewhere around here towards equilibrium at 98k, 99k, and then do another high and continue this move upwards we've been having on the weekly since, you know, October 2023 in this move upwards. That's like the main thing I'm talking about with this on Bitcoin. So I'm not surprised we've had this massive move downwards. And again, we've needed a catalyst. We've needed something to start us to come downwards. And obviously, in this case, it's not been a massive war. It's not been some massive political event. It's just literally a bunch of longs got liquidated, and now we're starting to come downwards, and that's it. You know, it wasn't some grandiose thing which happened. It's just us coming downwards normally. So we'll see how it goes. Again, this, regardless of if it's 90k, 88k, 99k, I don't care. All I care about right now is what we're doing, and we have this move upwards. We went past this high. We filled this gap on this move here. We've come above equilibrium. We've failed to print, and we're coming downwards. What's the next target? It's systematic. The next target's going to be the lows. So we're going to see past these lows, 107.2. We're going to want to target these lows. Come down. Maybe we see this low, 105. Maybe we just about wick past these lows. A good chance we could maybe have a print. We've come past these lows. We have a good print past towards the midpoint of this area, find resistance at the top, whatever we do exactly, but the idea is we come to this area. Now I know obviously in this case to measure it, again, we can come well past the low, we can come well past the low and find an area. This is 4% move past the low, this will be another nearish 4% move past the low, so we can come past this low quite handsomely. We can come to this midpoint easily in this low towards 103, absolutely. So that's what I think we're doing on Bitcoin. That is obviously my opinion. So that's just how it goes. Let me read the chat. I haven't read the chat in a second. Next 12 hours may pump back. Yeah, potentially. I think we're in our process on the way down. Obviously, I was talking about on the 4 hour, we have this, we had that move down for this gap. We came towards equilibrium, move upwards, move down. We do have something in the way of that as well. Again, in this case, we do have this swing here. And this is obviously something very important I want to point out. The difference between this move and this move on the daily, we've actually produced this. Some people call it different things. Technically, this is an order block. We have this gap here. We have a move upwards, a massive pump to eventually in the 4 hours going to print past this low and produce this gap, so or produce this order block. So if we draw a midpoint of that and we go to the 1 hour, we can see in the good area, optimum area, the midpoint's about 112.4. This is obviously near some of these highs here. We had this kind of these equal highs and equal lows. We move upwards and then dumped. We have a lot of highs here, so there's a lot of sensitivity probably in this area coming towards that midpoint. So maybe something towards 112.5 could be a good target. Also on the lower time frame, we can kind of see something printed here, not something to an extreme though. We don't really have too much gap going on. We do have an order block here on the 50-minute. You can see pretty big dump, 2 candles going upwards into this candle, into this gap here, and then a print through these candles. So if we draw that out, we can see we used that pretty nicely on this wick here, which took these highs and then dumped us. We can have a little bit of accumulation. We came up towards there and then dumped towards past this low, and now we have 10 highs here, 10 equal highs, 12 equal highs, whatever it is. So I do think we could come towards 112.5 for a good high for Bitcoin. So I do think we could have a retracement for Bitcoin. That absolutely makes sense. We've just come to our weekly support point and our 4-hour support point, or the daily support point on the last low we had for Bitcoin. So we might see a bit of reversal. We do at least want to fill this gap we probably produced here on the 1 hour. Again, on the 4 hour anyway, which is where we focused for this. It could be a very easy move back upwards, a very easy move back upwards and then move down, as we're continuing this move down, targeting towards 107.250. Yeah, absolutely. Great for what you guys do. Appreciate KB. Thank you. You know what? This thing I enjoy doing the streams, and you know what? I've said it so many times. I'd still be doing this. I do it off stream. And this thing is like when you do the charts, it's like I kind of talk to myself in my head to follow the process. So what I do on my streams, obviously I'm not saying I'm professional, but what I do in this stream is basically what I do in my own head. So it's just me doing what I'm doing in my own head out loud, and occasionally looking at a little circle on the top of my monitor as a camera, and then talking into this thing. So that's pretty much it. But again, I would still enjoy streaming if no one was here, just to have the process. But I'm glad you guys find something out of these streams, so I do appreciate it. KB says 70k. You know what? And the crazier things have happened. You know what I mean? Like, I think 70k. I don't know if it would go that low, in my opinion. We have this stopping point here. I think could be a great target. Again, I've been wrong. I've said things which I think the low is at one price and it's gone a bit lower. Obviously, there's different areas within here which we could focus on here. I don't think this is at least the first target. And you know what? When we get towards 93k, if we get towards 93k, then I'll concern myself thinking, are we going to go to 70k? Are we stopping here? But what's the validity of 70k? What would that be for me? Let me see. So we had a gap here. We filled it in this move and then we pumped. I mean, even on the monthly, you can see the same process. It's like we had a move upwards, we had a gap, we moved down. We've had a move up on the monthly, we haven't had the move down. even here, move up, move down, and this was during September time. You know, we started this move down, move upwards. We started in January, came towards April for a move down and move up. Obviously, it's different on the weekly, to be fair. But what do we have on the monthly? Well, we do have 95k. We have this little gap here. We have the gap, the down close, and then we print through this candle. Obviously, we do both candles, to be fair. So the midpoint of this would technically be, actually, the midpoint of both of these candles would actually be the exact same order block we have. Or the exact... Oh, okay, so we have a monthly order block, the midpoint being the exact same midpoint as the weekly gap. Okay, 90k. You know what? No, I'm gonna ignore the 70k. It could happen, but do you know what I mean? Like, we do have that. I mean, I want to see here as well. Where is this sitting at? 86k. It's within that gap. Where else can I see? Okay, what was the other examples? I mean, so the past times we had a run up, and then we fill the gap, and then we ran up, and we fill the gap, and then we ran up. Are we going to fill a gap? I mean, I'm just filling the words in, you know what I mean? It's just autocorrects at this rate. You know, I'm not saying anything crazy. Will be a gap filled with a run of the swing low? Yeah, I mean, that could happen, absolutely. I mean, again, I've talked about the weekly, case in point, I suppose. You know, the weekly gap, you know, we filled this gap, we came just a bit higher than some of the lower time frame highs, and then we dumped. So yeah, I mean, I can agree with the fact that we could fill a gap and still come a bit lower. I think for me, I mean, we have, you know, 82k, let's say, for this low into this gap. Obviously, we took this low, to be fair, was the actual main move. We filled this gap, retraced up into here, probably a day. If we go to the daily, we might see it a bit clearer here. We had a bit of a gap here, I suppose, you know, to be fair, which we kind of filled here, and then we dumped past this low with this move and then pumped. So that was kind of what we saw resistance at on the weekly for these highs. In these two candles move downwards, with on obviously this being the following wick. Last two down close before this massive move upwards, coming from these lows here, filling the rest of this, or majority of the rest of this, and then pumping. So this is going to be what could be a support point at 88k. Obviously midpoint being 89, 92, 93, whatever. But yeah, we could fill this and fill this area and still try to aim towards this low and wick past it. That's valid, absolutely. I'll wait to see. Give it 3 weeks, you know, let this play out. Again, this is the weekly chart, by the way. Let's just remind people, I'm not looking at the 1 hour here. This isn't going to happen over the next 2 days. This is the weekly chart. So let's let it play out. You know what I mean? Let us get towards these prices. You know, let's give it a time. You know, my life might have changed in the time it'll take for us to get towards this low. You know what I mean? So we'll see my feelings, or I'll see what my feelings are going to be when we get to these areas. Obviously, the time will tell. But 70k, if it's in the playbooks, it's in the playbooks. Again, there's lows at 74. What do we have? Let's see. I mean, we've got lows at 74. We've got like maybe a mini gap here at 66. But then that's talking about 66 here. What I will say, though, is we do have... let me go to the weekly here for this, actually. We have... so you have this gap, we have these down move. We didn't really have... We had this move. We didn't really print for anything. We kind of had these two candles, the last down, and then we printed upwards, and then we kind of came back into them, obviously filling this gap as well, and then pumped, and you can see this being a propulsion block coming upwards. We wicked back into it. So maybe there's some support at 64, but this is lower than anything else. I mean, 70k... I'm trying to find it, man. I'm trying to find it. But yeah, there is a 74. There is a 74 5. Anyway, I've spent so long on Bitcoin. Let me bring up the Square chat on my main monitor and have a little read of what's going on. And then we can go on to Ethereum. And you know what I'll do? I'm just going to give you an update, and I'm not going to talk much about it. And you're just going to be happy with it, okay? Because I like to give an explanation of why I say something, whether that be Bitcoin, whatever it is. And you know what? You're going to be happy with what I say on the rest of the charts, because I don't have a lot of time to cover them. So we're going to look at the buyers chat, see if anyone else on YouTube has anything to say while I'm reading the buyers chat, and then we can go to the next charts. Yeah, so we are recording UIDs. I have neglected the Binance Square chat like a puppy, and I've tied it to a tree. You know, I've tied the leash to a tree, and I've left it on the side of the road. Okay, I do apologize, Square. I'm here now. I'm not giving you $100, and this is why I don't really read it, you see. What is the time frame of this chart? This is the weekly. I did glance at the monthly, but it's mainly the weekly. Let me scroll. Will there be an alt season? Well, I mean, obviously we've talked about the flow from Bitcoin to whatnot, but I mean, on the idea that we've had the flow coming out of Bitcoin to obviously Ethereum and Solana and then altcoins, well, Bitcoin's been coming down for a while, so this has been the play, you know what I mean? So coming from Bitcoin leaving value, Ethereum has been leaving value, Solana is now leaving value. So we've clearly left the top end of that flow. So we're either now in the midst of the alt season, or it's about to be over. So, you know what I mean? So it has like a month, maybe a week, 2 weeks. See what I mean? What is Mike saying? All season is end of October to then November. For the last 5 years, we pump in October. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. We will have an alt season that'll just be postponed. I mean, that's the thing. It's like certain time frames. I could definitely admit the fact that based on what's the difference we have in the market right now versus what we've had previously as a whole, there are different powers at play, if you want to say it like that. So I could agree with the fact that it might affect the time frame of things. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it could be a latent pump, but I mean, we've seen some things pump. I mean, have you seen? You know what I mean? Like we had CRO. We've had other coins. I mean, I'm not going to say other coins because are they coined? Because someone will go, someone's favorite. I'll say someone's favorite coin. They go, oh, that's not an altcoin. That's not the best coin in the world. And then I'll just have a useless argument with someone on Square. So, yeah. But we've seen some things have great pumps, and now we're starting to see some things come down. So you know what I mean? It's yeah. Kevin Baker's overall, it's good to see some good dip. Market won't give a chance like this. Yeah, I mean, this thing is like, if you accumulate on the way down, and it depends on how you want to play the market. It's like, are you someone who's like over leveragedly trading a coin? Obviously, it's going to really matter what's happening. But if we're coming down, the general sentiment, we might be coming down. You know, you want to see that period of us coming down. So you know, it's like, I'm just looking at a different price action. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's a good opportunity. You could continue to buy on the way down, and then we hit some lows, we buy, and then you sell on the way upwards. That obviously you'll make money out of that. But it depends. Do you want to really buy right now when it could come to some of these areas? Obviously, I don't want to fear monger. No, this is financial advice. But are you going to want to buy on the way down for this when it could come as low as some areas at 92? Or would you wait to see if it gets towards some of these areas? And obviously, opportunity cost there and whatnot. If it doesn't get to these areas, you've not bought any Bitcoin, and then you're not making as much money if it goes towards 140k or 130. So I get that. So it's just easier to just buy. It's easier to buy when we're coming down. It's just easier to buy in general, because the grand scheme of things, it depends how long you like. If you've got cancer and you've not got long to live, and you know, you're like Walter White, you might as well go cook that meth. But if you're trying to trade Bitcoin, you're gonna need your life to be a bit longer. If you're just buying right now, that for you to buy right now and market in theory go down towards some of these prices, you're going to have to wait for the market to not only come down but also go back upwards to right where we are right now, and then go up a bit more to actually make a profit. So what do you want to do? It's your obviously it's your life. You do what you want. This is my opinion, and it's my life. Anyway, I have 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's go through some of the charts. So Ethereum, I have another chart because I'm ashamed of myself and I want to look at something else. So this was something I talked about last stream, on the idea that we were probably going to reverse this support point we had so long ago when we had this accumulative phase here with all these highs and lows. We had the support point. You know, we're bouncing, massive pump, fan resistance at the lower end order block, technically a manipulation, and now we're distributing downwards. Goodbye Ethereum, see you later. We had the support on the daily and the propulsion block on the 4 hour. We were using the propulsion block quite nicely. We have used the daily support a few times. We came to it. We saw, we conquered. We've come down. We've used it as resistance so much here. We didn't get above it. We had this gap kind of came up. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The reason why I don't think we retraced that high for Ethereum, which is even bad, is really bad for Ethereum, because if we don't recover this move, this will exist for time. This will exist. So even if, Ethereum, the best coin in the world, you know, every country in the world's going to start buying Ethereum. Oh, here we go. Oh no, we didn't get rid of this, and now we're coming down again. You know what I mean? So it's just outstanding death for Ethereum. So we flip this resistance. We have the midpoint here. This is now a breaker block. We bing, 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 bing. Finally, what day? 2 a.m. Kel Surprise. Asia opens, and then off we go. Asia, you sneaky buggers. So obviously you can kind of see Asia opens, and then we dump, and then we've spent the entire time not moving above this resistance because we have it on the daily. We now are at a breaker block. We're just seeing resistance. We didn't even manipulate or anything. And now Tokyo or Asia opens, and then we come down, and then obviously America and London, New York have gone, you know what, it's over, guys, and then we've come down. So yeah, that's fun. So yeah, the Ethereum outlook, again, all I'll say is I'm glad I wasn't the only one who wanted us to come up one more time. You know what I mean? That was, see, this is what I said, this is my saving grace, is that even though I could be wrong, I'm in the same wrong boat as Ben is. And that's all I'll say. So we had we had the gap here. We had the daily gap. I just wanted to like point out. We had obviously this gap. We're coming down to fill the majority of this, I will say. Again, Ethereum is on a fast track mode towards these areas. Will it matter? I'll be coming down with a very nice reversal here. And then we're coming downwards. So the idea is we're going to be taking lows, we're going to be taking areas, unless we reverse again, which, look at that price action on daily. Are we going to be reversing that easily? I don't think so. So we're targeting lows, we're targeting gaps, we're targeting lows, we're targeting gaps, we're targeting lows, 2,700, 2,800 over here, and then we're pumping. You know, it could be the play. Also with Ethereum, obviously we had a similar process. We didn't wick past it or whatever. We did produce a order block here, though, to be fair. So we have this area, we have the midpoint here. We can kind of see we had the high here. We sweep the high. Didn't print past, failed to print on the weekly. Not a great sign. We've seen a lot of that recently, where we go into the weekly and we see highs, whether it be of recent or old highs. If you don't print past that high, it's not great. It's not great. So obviously you failed to print past the high, wick past it, came down, printed through this candle, the candle body. So again, this whole area is going to be resistance. If not, you can probably look at it here as well. Sometimes I use the bodies. I just use the general area like this. You know, I just use the whole candle. Midpoint is here. We can see we kind of came down. We had the daily support, which we found. We've come upwards. We found resistance again. Obviously, we have different areas on the daily and the 4 hour. We have gaps. We have whatever. We had the accumulation phase. We manipulated and then we've dumped downwards. Either way, we found resistance. We've come down and now we're dumping past these lows. We did have this support on the weekly. Again, obviously, you can see I haven't got this drawn. I don't know why. I thought I drew this. Oh, it's a different chart. That's why. Okay, I'm just going to make this like a purple. Okay, so we have this weekly order block. Obviously, we have this massive gap tickled into it. You know, little tickle the toes of this gap here. Pumped again. This is a good gap. Or this is a good order block here. So again, this whole area, we do have some gaps here on the daily, which sit within this support point at 3,600. So what I would expect for Ethereum is probably within this weekly candle, we'll continue the rest of the days of this week to continue downwards, probably aiming towards this 3,700 areas and just stay negative. I think we'll print negative for Ethereum. We might not produce a weekly gap and then retrace. That'll take too long. We'll probably produce these two candles. We'll have this gap candle. We'll probably have a retracement on the weekly candle and then come down again, taking out this and then obviously filling this as a breaker block and then coming towards filling these areas, maybe even targeting this low candle here. Bearing in mind as well, we had this period where we had this pump downwards, printing past this low. We had this retracement for a lower high, failed to swing, print. Obviously, we had this area. We had this accumulation. We manipulated into this gap, producing a higher low, and then we printed past this high here in this gap. So this is a gap plus the shift to go higher to start the uptrend again. So this is going to be quite a valuable area, which again, as we've said, sits at about 2,800. I've got 4 minutes. Oh my god. So yeah, that's probably the target I would aim for. But again, not a crazy move. It wouldn't be a crazy move. You know, we've basically, obviously, apart from these occasional down candles, we've been in a move upwards since April 2025. We've been in a straight line move upwards. So what's the chance that we retrace this gap area? You know what I mean? Like, what's the chances that we have a big old retracement just about towards the perfect area, 2,735? What's the chances we come to this area, fill it? We also have the order block here as well. Not only is this taking out the high to print, we also have the down close for a massive print upwards from this gap. So this is going to be a support area at 2,677. So I do think this area is going to be a great target for a buy area for Ethereum. Obviously, in theory, obviously not financial advice. Yeah, anyway, let's move on. We have Solana, down, ouchies. We have this gap, we're going to invert it, we're going to use its resistance, we might retrace back up to 223, we're going to come down, and then that's it really. So we had this area on the daily, we had this down close, up close into this gap, we had down close back into this candle, come down, come upwards, come down. We have this area as a buy area, basically this area. I don't know why it's drawn here actually, let me draw it properly. There we go. So we have this area. We kind of saw a bit of support here. We kind of saw a bit of support in the lower time frames. Again, the reason why we reversed here, I want to talk about this reversal on Solana. I have 2 minutes. I will go very quickly. If it goes over your head, that doesn't matter, okay? This is for the people. I'll just say this. I like to talk. I don't care if people don't really understand it too well. I try and explain it, you know, in its process. So if you just want to hear what I think of Solana, down. But obviously I have mentioned the idea of the weekly having a massive print. Again, same idea we had on Bitcoin. We have a massive up close. We come into a high time frame point of interest, a sell area, whatever you want to coin it. We wick past the high, we print negative, we dump. Same thing we have on Bitcoin. We have that take of the high, print down as negative. We are coming down, we've taken that low. Simple. So what we could see maybe for Solana is we have obviously this gap which we've inverted. Obviously we've come to a massively higher time frame resistance area, 236 area, obviously 255 at the top. We've come upwards, we've printed at the midline here, obviously we want to aim for, and now we've reversed down here, reversing this gap eventually when we print. I kind of wager a guess to say we're going to print this. We might have a gap on the daily, we have some, whatever, I don't care about the daily actually. Weekly, we have this print up, print down, we're probably going to print this, we're going to reverse, we might see this reversal for this gap here, from the high to the low. Let's say it's coming at least down towards here, that it's going to come towards that 225 area. We could see a reversal for Solana easily on this weekly time frame for this trend and then come downwards. You know what? I got shooked for Solana, and I'm glad I'm seeing my ways. You know, Solana was at 255, and I didn't know if we were going to see us come any higher. And you know what I said to the stream, maybe 3 streams ago, whenever it was. You know what? We might come up towards this resistance area. I just need to keep myself. We have the optimum area here. We had this 4-hour resistance. You see, like, I doubted myself. You know, I doubted it. I doubted this move from the high to the low to do a lower high and come down. I doubted it. I'm saying that now in the chance that Solana continues to go downwards. If we don't go downwards, it's going to be a pretty convenient clip there. I will delete the stream afterwards. You know what? I will save this stream in my bookmarks. If Solana starts to pump all of a sudden and go up towards 300, I'm deleting the stream and you'll never see this ever again. But anyway, we have the gap. We're coming down. We're gonna print. I mean, like, I don't want to say it in like we might print. I think we're going to print. You know, like, look how negative we are. We're continuing downwards. We have so much resistance on lower time frames. We're going to print this. We might see a big old retracement from this weekly candle, wicking up into it and then coming back downwards again for this inverted gap. We're going to be taking out some of these areas. Again, we have some of these candles here. Of support, again coming down, coming back upwards, the propulsion block or whatever. We have obviously these candles. We had this low with this candle taking this low, this individual printing upwards, this area here printing upwards for this candle, propulsion block, we print it across. We have this candle, we've eventually printed through this one to have a order block here. We can see we did the same thing here. We printed through this candle. We had an order block here, which obviously all propulsion block on the way upwards. But anyway, the main one being down here. Regardless, we do have some support here at 190. So we do have some areas we're going to want to target. Obviously, going back to the daily here, we're going to want to take these lows. We're going to continue to come downwards and do our thing. But look how negative we are on the daily here. Even if we don't focus on an inverted gap, we have a massive gap here. If we go from the high to the low, even for just being the low here, let's say, this massive gap is sitting there. And the lower we go, the more this sits into the perfect range. Again, like I said, about 230 to 225. This area is going to be a massive target for Solana, especially this being the candle which printed through this low to start the downtrend. This is going to be a massive sell area. I don't think Solana's getting any higher than 254. I think it's over, guys. Thank you for being here. You know, come back next year. You know, when we start to pump again. So Solana come down. Great. Syrup. We saw the low. This was the order block. We are kind of at the midpoint. We're probably going to continue downwards and continue. But again, all I want to point out for Syrup, we finally hit 2847. We'll probably see a bit of retracing. We have an inverted gap. Okay. We had a gap here from this relative high to relative low, maybe being, let's say, up here, for example, for the most premium high anyway. High to low, retraced into a probably good area, filling this gap here. And now we've come down. We had a gap here, and then obviously we reversed it, which makes sense. And we have gaps here. So we probably could maybe target around about this area at 4054. We can probably continue here. Important thing as well, we've printed past that major low for the high to the low. Coming here, we've printed past that low. So any point now, we're probably going to want to target to come back upwards and then target for a lower high and continue downwards. In terms of major targets for our previous price action, we've taken these lows very good. we probably want to target some of these lows, but again, you know, I'm not going to say too much about syrup because if the market's going down, I don't want to say anything going upwards. I've learned my lesson now. I've learned my lesson very, very, very validly. If the market is going down, if you think Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana are all going to go down, why am I to say syrup's going to go to 70 cent? You know what I mean? So syrup go down. Sui go down. Sad times. We're in such a good scenario here. Sui go down. Probably coming to fill some more gaps. Very sad times. But regardless, let's see how it happens. CRO, obviously 22 was the first target to fill this area, 21.5. We filled it. We saw a tiny response, but we really didn't. We found resistance here at this order block. We've continued downwards. Massive dump. Obviously looking to fill this rest of this gap. We have this top end here, which I believe is a order block on the weekly. Again, we had this move down to fill this candle with a pump upwards. And you can see we draw this here. We have this move down as well into this candle to move upwards. Last down close candle, 17.3. Filling the rest of this gap pretty much on the weekly here at 16.3. So I reckon we can come to this 17 cent area. Low, potentially, we have this 15 as support. So we do have some sort of support basically sitting in this area. So I would like to see if we could see something here for CRO. I feel really bad for people. You know, everyone is actually pretty much crying on Twitter. So I do feel bad for them. But again, this isn't a substantial move. This move was not substantial, and we need to come to fill it, and we've been doing that. So obviously we'll see how it goes. But anyway, XRP, let's go to the daily here. We had the resistance, which we've talked about already with this area here. We had a gap here on the daily. We filled this. We had some resistance here. Printed at midpoint there. Printed at this area, nearing the high here, continuing downwards, basically reversing past this with this gap. Again, really good target. I think I talked about that on Monday. Us wanting to fill this area as we printed past this gap. As you can see, if we draw it across, we filled it quite nicely. Maybe even doing equal highs here, but we filled this gap pretty nicely. Looking from the high to the low here, a good old actually quite a deep retracement above equilibrium coming to this area. Now we're starting to come down, probably targeting this low towards this area on the daily, which is a what is this? What is this? What is this? I don't even know what that is. We have this weekly gap we're filling. Again, this is the retracement from, we actually printed on the weekly, very important. We actually printed above this area here, so actually good for XRP. We're slowly retracing downwards to fill this gap. And again, this is like Bitcoin's. I think we might spend a decent while on here. This is like Bitcoin's obviously area here. We have all these lows we took in this move and then pumped. This is also at 233. This is a support point as well. You can see all these lows we took, or all these lows we printed here. We came down in these candles, and then we absolutely pumped here. This will be a support point at 2340, bottom of this order block as well. So I can or the fair value gap. I can definitely see this area being a good area to stop at. Maximum. If we go lower, I mean, it's rough price action then, you know, it's really rough. I mean, chance for reversal potentially. We took the highs, we didn't wick past the highs and print, and we're not displacing downwards. We're retracing. We're not really displacing. So there's not really much of a gap here. We haven't really inverted anything. We're just coming towards this gap. So I think we'll continue downwards. $2.50, $2.34 towards these areas here as we continue downwards. Obviously going back to the daily here. We've been talking about the idea that we had this retracement. We had the high to the low. We have the retracement up above equilibrium in this move, taking out that gap area. Obviously, we looked at on the daily and the 4 hour. We're going to want to target this low at $2.70, which we're continuing to do right now. Importantly as well, if we print on the daily here, we have this move upwards, which takes this point of interest, liquidity, or whatever people want to say. We have this move upwards, and now we're absolutely dumping past this. This will be resistance. So what I could maybe see if we come upwards, we come down, targeting this low. We could retrace again up back into $2.87. What I want to do actually, if I draw this gap out, I want to go to the 4 hour and see if we've got any gaps and whatnot. We could have some inverted gaps here. Again, we have this pump upwards, printed past this high for this move, so technically would have been a shift, and then we dump past it in these gaps. So not only do we have normal gaps, we have inverted gaps. This whole thing's an order block sitting about 289. Again, we looked at the idea that we have the high to the low coming somewhere past that low. We're going to want to see that retracement. We have inverted gap for a normal gap here. We also have a normal order block on the 4 hour at the top end here as well. Again, filling this gap here, trying to do an equal high here, and then pumping, or not pumping really, but printing past this low and then coming down. And you can see this is what I was talking about, and the idea that in the third candle, after printing an order block, you can have that small retracement back into the candle body, back into finding support or resistance, in this case at 292. So same thing I think on the daily here, where we can produce this within this candle as we print in the next 3 hours and 47 minutes, and we could have a little retracement on the next daily candle into this candle, maybe during Asia, whatever it's going to be, and then continue back downwards for XRP. And that's pretty much it. I don't want to look at Moon. I don't like Moon. Moon's not very happy with me. So that's it. I've tried to go as fast as possible. We're 12 minutes over. I did start the stream 4 minutes late, so not awful. 8 minutes over. I don't think that's too bad. Why is my I did not realize my hand was going outside of the screen. That's amateur. Let me crop that. So yeah, that's it. I'm finally done. I feel like I've been a train going through this, but I think we did it quite efficiently. I know if you've just joined the stream, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I understand. I do apologize. I just want to get through it and just try and see if I can get, to it. Obviously, I was trying to give some price areas or price targets anyway, just to give some sort of familiarity for people. But anyways, we're done. Okay, it's over. You don't have to sit here any longer. Obviously, people in Square have been putting their IDs, so you guys obviously have been entered. But XPL, yeah, I've actually seen a lot of liquidation in XPL from CoinGlass. I've not looked into it. I don't know what it is. I assume obviously it's going to be it's going to be one of these, right? So it's new. Clearly, it's new. Okay. So it's new. Clearly. I mean, if this is something people want, I can look at it, I guess, but obviously not today. Oh yeah, I was looking at this earlier just to see if there's anything important. Not really. I mean, there might be, obviously, anything America related, and if it sounds important, it might be important. Obviously, non-farm payrolls and unemployment rate will be important to a certain extent. Oh, not to a certain extent. We've seen importance with this sort of data, but, I mean, we saw what happened on September 17th. September 17th was supposed to be the day of reckoning for crypto. It was a day where we were going to go to 140k, and we didn't do anything. So, how much does this really matter at the end of the day? I'm starting to go side with KB more and more each and every day. But thank you, all of you. Thank you, Mags. Saying thank you. Tachi joined. I don't know if you joined last minute, but we are unfortunately ending the stream. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here near the end and sticking through the stream. I know it's a lot to go through, and there's a lot of words I say, and they might not all mean anything to you. And it might be very hard, and I do apologize. Thank you. I am back. When am I back? I'll be back Saturday to do obviously more charts, and then I'll be back. I think I liked doing the charts on Monday. I didn't mind doing it because then it gives Monday, and then it gives Wednesday, and then it gives and then we'll do Wednesday, Thursday, because obviously I can't do anything else. Obviously, I guess there's a gap between Tuesday, Wednesday, but we still do a stream Wednesday, so technically stream basis, we've got Monday, then we've got Wednesday and Thursday, then we've got Saturday and Monday. So I think I might do Monday again. I didn't actually mind it. Obviously, if it's good for you guys, I can do Monday. If it's not and it's a horrible time, then tell me off. One of their great thanks for bringing a wonderful stream. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you for watching. Obviously, your time. Obviously, everyone's time is very valuable. So thank you for spending it watching this stream. Hopefully, I didn't go too fast. I know there's some people who join who aren't native English speakers, and I speak way too fast, and I'm aware of that. So, but obviously, on every platform, Square and YouTube, thank you guys for watching. Again, like I said, I'll be back Saturday. Keep it posted. Okay, I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm pretty happy. And obviously, I've had this. The moment, obviously, on Ethereum, I'm not very proud of with, siding with people who are not happy. I'm interested to see how the bull market support bands holds this dump, because, I want to see what it's like. I want to see how the bull market support band treats this. Maybe I'm fading the bull market support band. Maybe it's the actual key. Maybe it's the source which I'm missing from my charts. Maybe I need the bull market support band on my charts, and I'll be a better trader. But we'll see how it goes throughout. Obviously, tomorrow, the rest of today, and obviously majority of Saturday. And obviously, I will give a probably another long stream where I always talk and go over an hour. So yeah, I try. Thank you. See you guys in Telegram. See you guys on Saturday if you're not there. Do consider subscribing, liking, join Telegram if you want to. Going along to the other streams. I'll be back Saturday. I have nothing else to say. Genuinely nothing else to say. Thank you. See you all later. Goodbye.